promised a strategic Bitcoin reserve. And he promised to make America the Bitcoin superpower of the world. In 100 days, promises made and promises kept. And today we can make a little bit of history this morning by having the first ever sitting vice president community. Are you ready? With that, join me in welcoming the Vice President of the United States of America. Thank you. First of all, I want to thank, please, thank you guys. I'm nervous because I told them these Bitcoin guys really like guns. They really like the President, Vice President of the United States. So I'm grateful for everything that you've done for the Bitcoin community. Thanks in particular 20 days, and I don't think we could have done it without David's support. I want to also thank, Tyler and Cameron, I think really helped break the dam. If we're in private, they were going to support Donald Trump for president. They would talk about the fact the Democrats had gone to take that step, and a whole host of people followed them. Thank you for that. Of course, I want to thank the good. Now, you guys know I get to meet a lot of exciting people in my job. You can't do that without a lot of good energy. But I promise this isn't a conference of people. This is a movement, and I'm proud to stand with you here. And I think this conference, this movement of people, gets decided. So let's start by making one thing abundantly clear. That future is going to be decided. We've got a star-studded lineup here today, including several of my colleagues. David, Bo, Hester, I know you're all out there. It's great to be among so many friends and allies. So, I want to speak for just a few minutes about a few things, and I want to talk that help guide us as we develop this policy. But before that, I want to speak about why people ask me why I tend to be bullish on the future of innovation in this country. Between good technology that boosts our productivity, makes our lives genuine, ground-up innovation, one that's already improving the well-being of millions of our fellow citizens. I believe it's 50 million Americans own Bitcoin, and I believe that's going to be But it's not just about Bitcoin and about the value that's been generated by so many millions of our fellow citizens. Through decentralized finance, crypto has transformed lives and habits. And every single day, I feel like I see some blockchain tech, whether it's in supply chain management, whether it's in hospitals, or whether it's in changing how we track and store patients' private health records. But for each forward-looking applications, I also feel like there's an incredibly valued conservative element to crypto technology. Crypto is a hedge against bad policy making from Washington, no matter what party's in control. It's a hedge against the rate of Americans over the last 4 years. And as you all know well, it's a hedge against the private sector that's increasingly willing to discriminate against consumers, including their politics. The first Trump administration. In Canada, the government did the same to kill those big truck driver protests in 2022. Less than a week later, they succeeded. The protests were over. But maybe most importantly, in the digital era in both the public and private sector, that's of elites who, rather than innovate themselves, over and co-opt cutting-edge technologies to assert their control over other people. That's not Bitcoin. It'll never be Bitcoin. But as you know, there's a new sheriff in town because after 4 years, regulators, lawmakers in this country have a choice. Will we lead of innovation and of prosperity, or will we let unelected bureaucrats and four competitors say loud and clear, with President Trump, crypto finally has a champion and an ally in the White House. In our administration, we understand the full potential of the digital assets industry, not just as an investment, not just as a flashy technology, but as a simple. The people in this room are the digital pioneers of the American economy. And that we're listening to all of you as you blaze the trail of innovation. The innovators in this room are making people's lives better. You're pushing boundaries and solving transparency and clarity, and most of all, you deserve respect and support. Now that means a few substantive concrete steps, and of course the first and most important of those is exactly what we've been trying to do. Our administration, we prioritize eliminating the rules by our predecessors. We're ending the weaponization of federal regulation. 2.0 is dead and it's not coming back under Trump. By the way, it's crazy that was ever even controversial. The idea of using the crazy, but let me serve as Operation Choke Point. Let me serve as its obituary. Now, this impact it's had on the economy. Instead, we reject the Biden administration's legacy. We reject regulators. Maybe the most important thing that we did. And we know that people like Gary Gensler, the game that they play is that I grew up in a working class family. I believe that America is a place. A degree you may or may not have. And in recent years, I'm hard-pressed to think of a better place to do so than right here in the digital. Loomis out there today, or she already gone? She already, well, you know, dinner last night with Cynthia Loomis. We had a little event yesterday, and I looked around, I said, where the hell is Cynthia Loomis? And somebody said, well, advocates for your industry in the United States Congress. Getting the Genius Act passed and across the president's desk as quickly as too much stablecoin activity overseas over the last few years. Over the last few years, with so many headwinds, tailwinds to one of the fastest growing industries in our country, and that's what we aim to do. To vastly expand the use of stablecoins as a digital payment system for millions. Further transparency into the market. And let me be emphatic on Administration, we do not think that stablecoins threaten the of the United States dollar, quite the opposite. We view them as a force multiplier of our economic might. Stablecoins, particularly once Genius is enacted, is only going to help the American economy. That the Senate is able to move quickly on passing a Clean Genius Act, and for the House to sign it into law the minute it comes across his desk. Now, will then fully shift to our third priority, which is to enact one that's pro-innovation and fully incorporates crypto into the mainstream economy. And again, I've talked to so many of you over the last couple of days. Over the last couple of months, the consistent fear that I hear is that there's still this. And let me promise you that our effort to change the policy is purely about changing that and are here to stay. We can do that legislatively because, again, our party is in charge for a long time, but nothing is ever guaranteed. It's through a market structure bill that champions and doesn't restrict. Right now, in this Congress and with this administration, we have a now. We risk chasing this $3 trillion industry offshore in search not happen. Pro-innovation rules of the road, we can also or anybody else never wage another war on the crypto community. Now, I've already hit my time here, but before I head back to a few bits of advice and a few thoughts on where this industry is going. This is one politician's perspective. A few things. First of all, I remember when I ran for Senate the first time I had ever entered politics back in 2022. Community as a person who was one of the only people running for office who actually owned Bitcoin, and I still own a fair amount of Bitcoin today. 2021 and 2022, this feels like an eternity ago, but it was only 4 years ago, is that I recognize the Biden administration what Gary Gensler was doing was a disaster, and yet there didn't. Part of the reason that Bernie Moreno defeated Sherrod Brown in the Senate is because you guys got organized and got involved in American politics, and I'm grateful. But there's a lesson to take from that experience that unless you guys get involved in politics 24, and I tell you, every victory that we win, it's only a provisional victory. You know, one of my great mentors in voice. Well, I know that a lot of people in 2024 in this community chose voice. Direct trajectory of our country because of it. But you got to keep on choosing voice. Bitcoin is digital. None of you are. None of us are. What happens in the world of politics, what happens in the world of bureaucracy, it will affect technologies if we don't make the right decision. So the first piece of advice, the first thing that I'd ask you, don't ignore politics, because I guarantee you, my friends, politics is not going to ignore this community. Not now and not. The second thing that I want to toss out there is that we have to start thinking of the long-term strategic and created a lot of wealth for themselves, and that's a great thing. But I actually think that where an asset for the United States over the next decade, it's one of the reasons why President Trump, with the help of our great strategic importance of Bitcoin for the United States government. We know, well, we should be asking ourselves, why is that? Why is this adversary such an opponent of Bitcoin? And if the Communist Republic is leaning away from Bitcoin, then maybe the United States ought to be leaning into Bitcoin. Bitcoin, and that's one of the things. But that's not a vice president standing up here and talking at you. The way that Bitcoin is involved in the strategic future of our country, that's got to be a two-way conversation. And so when I talk about getting involved, tell us the ways in which Bitcoin can play a positive role in the strategic future of this country. I know that Bitcoin, but all of you have got to be involved in this conversation. Any of us want to wake up in a country 10 years from now that is less. And here's the third thought that I want to leave you. You know, one of the ways you hear stated is that crypto is fundamentally a conservative or right-leaning technology, and now I think that overstates things a little bit in both directions, but there's a now I haven't been involved in the day-to-day operations of a technology company in about 4 years since I entered politics for the very first time. But what I've noticed is that very people in tech tend to be attracted to Bitcoin and crypto, and very smart left in tech tend to be more attracted to AI. Again, that's a gross generalization, it's an overstatement, but there's an element of truth to it. But what I'd ask you all is to remember that what happens to affect in good and bad ways what happens to Bitcoin. And of course, what happens to Bitcoin is very much going to affect what happens in AI. So, while this is certainly a Bitcoin conference, and I know we're all proud of what you guys have accomplished over the last 10 years, my final piece of advice is to make sure you're keeping tabs on and staying involved in what's happening with artificial intelligence, because I don't want Bitcoin, what happens in AI, and most importantly, I don't want America to be negatively affected by what happens in AI. And the best way to ensure that smart people are at the AI conversation is to ensure that Bitcoin is. Our administration is committed to it. I want you guys to be committed to it as well. I just want to say in the next few years of the Trump administration, we've accomplished a lot, but we have plans to continue to make big progress for this industry and for the American people who rely on it. The whole of government, we're going to need your help, we're going to need your guidance, we're going to need your encouragement, and at times, yes, because this is politics, your pressure. So, have fun this week, but keep the pressure up. Things together for our industry, but most importantly, for the cause of personal freedom and the United States.
Okay, so
because it's not on.
We have a couple of announcements that we're going to be making here shortly. But to start, I don't know if you've seen the signs, but we're trying. So I think the Guinness Book of World Records is here to be the official judge of this. But I'm taking this off with the first Bitcoin transaction, and I'm buying a pin. So I need all of us today to go buy something. This is always the danger of doing it live.
Should we stop right here? Or? Let's see. What's happening? The Guinness roller.
All right, people, it's a win. I'm going to need y'all to do extra transactions to make up for this one, please.
What?
Oh.
I think we might be short a couple transactions.
Okay, well, so we have two more announcements that we need to make. We have wine coming up right now. from a special friend of mine, Ryan Cohen. So we're going to play a video from Ryan. It's a special message from the Big Wing community. And then we need to flip the stage. But in about 20 minutes, we're going to have a special announcement from the mayor of the biggest city in the United States, Eric Adams. So please wait around.
Okay, let's go. Let's plug it in when we get out there. So yeah, we have minutes.
What's up, everybody? It's David Bailey from BTC Inc., and I'm here with the man, the myth, the legend, Ryan Cohen from GameStop. What's up, Ryan?
What's up? How are ya?
Doing well, man. I'm enjoying these Bitcoin prices. How about you?
It's all good.
Well, let's get started. We're talking innovative corporate strategies. We're talking pioneering new paths. You turned GameStop around from a dying business to a thriving business. How'd you do it?
When I took over, the company was a piece of crap and losing a lot of money. The company was under a lot of pressure from physical games to digital downloads. So you had to cut costs. You had to cut costs very aggressively and bring in fiscal discipline. Against the company, games to digital downloads, and we need to get the costs under control. So that was a big focus on training our TCG.
They were blocking it with the vehicle.
Right now?
Yeah. Yeah, they're not. They're not.
I guess it's $1 million question that everyone is GameStop profit.
I mean,
If the thesis is correct, then Bitcoin and gold as well can be
Reinaldo, sinceramente te voy a decir una cosa.
I mean, we should shut it off and just like, oh, we'll go live in just a moment. Here, can you hold this?
Todas las cosas que no son
Can you see me?
Not really, no.
Okay, let's go. Are you sure? Can't see.
Where do you want to go?
You can't see us?
No, it's black. It's like dark. Maybe over there.
It should be on the radio though.
What's up? Yeah, I was just holding it.
There.
No, wait. No.
No, not yet.
No, just here.
A comfort item.
What?
Can you film us?
Oh, you want to?
Hey everybody, we're gonna go off the live stream for now, but we're gonna get back on once they let us out. They're kind of wrangling us all in, but yeah, we'll see you guys around 1 p.m. Pacific for our interviews. See you guys there.
3 hours. Got you. I forgot we were still on.